So this is not me making a video about being upset about the Supreme Court's probable overturning of Roe v. Wade over the summer. Obviously, I think that's horrible, but we don't have to agree, whatever. I'm sure a lot of you do, some of you don't, whatever. It's not what this is about. This is about Bungie and the response people have had to Bungie, and I want to just talk about that briefly. So if you don't know Bungie, we talked about this on the stream yesterday, but if you haven't seen it, Bungie came out and put up a post on their blog, and I'll put a link to it below. But the gist of it is hey, we stand with 70% of America, which is to say that we think Roe v. Wade is important. We don't want to see it be overturned, etc. And then, obviously, as you can imagine, there were a number of fans online saying, stick to games, we don't care about your politics. And Bungie, to their credit, which I was very happy about, was like, no, we won't stick to games. Basically, fuck you. Our values go beyond our games, and we're standing by this. Okay, great. And then today there was a really good article in Games Industry Biz by Brendan Sinclair of the Connecticut Sinclairs. They're a good family, except that one kid. He's bad news. But anyway, Brendan Sinclair wrote this. And, I have not read the Supreme Court leak, but I wasn't aware of this. But let me just read you some choice bits, though. It says, the interesting thing here, says Brendan, is that this was a proactive statement on behalf of Bungie on a hot button political issue, but maybe not as hot button as it used to be. An ABC News Washington Post poll found Americans want the court to uphold Roe v. Wade 54 to 28%. 70% believe the decision to abort should be left to the woman and her doctor. Okay. But then, according to this article, and I'll take it at face value, the overturning of Roe v. Wade would be bad for the freedom and privacy of women in the U.S., but it by no means stops there. By no means stops there. I'm drunk. Give me a break. In the draft decision, Justice Samuel Alito criticized other previous Supreme Court rulings, including, he criticized these, the right to marry a person of a different race, the right to marry while in prison, the right to obtain contraceptives, the right to reside with relatives, the right to make decisions about the educations of one's kids, the right to not be sterilized without consent, the right to engage in private consensual sex acts, and the right to marry a person of the same sex. Now, my lay awareness of this is not that he necessarily is suggesting interracial marriage or gay marriage is bad. I think he's saying the Supreme Court has overstepped in the past and this should be left up to the states. And then you get into a big fucking brouhaha about states' rights and where the federal government's line is, blah, and whatever. That's beyond the scope of this particular video and my particular brain on most days. But the thing to take away from this, that is, if this happens, and even though there's been some suggestions that the Chief Justice is like, well, I'm not so sure I want to go as far as what that leak was suggesting, but let's assume it happens, like a lot of people are. There's nothing to stop an individual state from going with any of these lists. Not just the abortion, which is bad enough, but they're all bad. They're all equally horrific, in my opinion, in terms of one's individual personal rights. And so it's an important issue, okay? And Bungie speaking out on it. Okay, there you go. Now, I wrote today, here's what I wrote. I'm glad they spoke up. Other game companies should too. However, the vocal support should also come with a promise to pay for workers' expenses if they must travel out of state to get an abortion. Whatever. Amazon, I think, is doing that. That's not some brilliant idea, but I think that if you really want to put your money where your mouth is, make sure that your remote workers, because Bungie's in a blue state, but your remote workers have access, in Florida and Georgia or wherever, if this comes to pass and they, sadly, tragically need to abort a child for whatever reason. But then, of course, not just on Bungie's page, not just over responses to the game industry, but you've got these people saying stuff like, gaming is getting crazier. This is a guy, Game and Tech. Gamers are not interested in political views of dev studios. For some people, abortion is murder, with few exceptions here and there. There's nothing to do with religion. I don't always bring up religion. Now we're advocating for companies to pay for abortions. Stop smoking that shit. Yes, we are, because whatever. It's a different discussion, but yes, that's what I'm advocating. That is what I'm advocating, and that is what a number of other companies are talking about. This guy says, well, that's different. But the gist of it is keep your politics out of our games. And I want to mention this because I think it really is important to make clear. Most people who make art and make creativity and who live creative professional lives are left-leaning. They're Democrats, they're liberals, they're progressives. And so the very thing that lets them do what you claim to love, which is make games or movies or TV shows or music or whatever, is also the very thing that, promotes in their minds the desire, the need, the will to speak out when they see injustice, okay? And I know that some people are like, yeah, that's bullshit. Lefties aren't more creative. Well, first off, anecdotally, they are. I mean, look, God forbid there was a civil war or the country split up, fine. You guys can have, Scott Baio, and you guys can have John Schneider and James Woods. I mean, just look at the history of science and entertainment. It's led by progressives. You don't have to believe me. There's 3 links down below this video. One is from Scientific America from late last year, or 2 years ago, sorry, talking literally about the differences between liberal and conservative brains. One is from Psychology Today, citing studies, and one is from Creative Thinking Journal, literally talking about the data suggesting that more patents are filed by people who are progressive and liberal, more creative arts are filled by, and more entertainment is filled by people who are left-leaning. This is not a knock on conservative thinking. It says conservative thinking is valuable. We would not be a species that survived the caveman days without a healthy mix of push and pull between liberals and conservatives. But when it comes to the stuff like making video games, like Bungie does, you can't have it both ways. These are not short order cooks. If they were short order cooks, they would basically make crap and you wouldn't care about it, and it wouldn't tug at your heartstrings, and it wouldn't make you excited, and it wouldn't, touch your soul. They are creative, artistic souls, okay? And in that, you can tell them to shut up and code, but A, they would never listen to you. But B, it felt worth mentioning, because I'm tired of my fellow creatives being sort of saddled with this demand from people who don't understand how it works, of like, you just need to entertain me. It's like, no, you just need to maybe go buy someone else's games. Go find some, Doug TenNapel, who made Earthworm Jim. I don't think he's making games anymore, but he's a conservative game fella. I'm sure there are some of them out there. I played a game yesterday called Acquitted. Terrible fucking game. Well, I didn't play it. I tried to, but my virus protection wouldn't let me. But then I went online and I saw a bunch of videos of it. Here, I'll show it to you. It's terrible. But it's like a Kyle Rittenhouse game. Acquitted game. It's stupid. It's like a little Flash game from, 1995. But, haha, you go around and shoot zombies that are meant to reflect liberals or whatever, which is, by the way, fine. They have a right to make that game. I support the right to make that game. But it's not a very good game. It's kind of basic and boring, right? So, you can go do that. Just go support those people. But don't come at creatives and, you can disagree with creatives. You can disagree with liberals. You can disagree with progressives, and that's fine. And that's even important. That's America, and we should do that. We should disagree and have debate. But to tell these guys to stay in their lane, they are in their lane. Their lane is progressive thought, whether you're talking about a progressive sense of creating a game that you've never heard of, or a mechanic or a story in a game that you've never thought of having in a game, or politically. It comes with the territory. And if you don't like it, I respect that. But perhaps it's time for you to find a different hobby, or go see if Kirk Cameron wants to make video games. I'm sure he ain't doing much.